Hola, pendejos. Welcome to another movie mass. My brothers and sisters, and my none of the aboves. I am your boy Jay, the Bishop of Barnes and Noble, because it is the month of July. But I'm not here to talk about Criterions. Taking a little break from the Criterion talk to talk about the most recent Vinegar Syndrome Alien Invasion sale. As I record this, Vinegar Syndrome just wrapped up their final day of the Alien Invasion sales. So it's all over. It's behind us now, but it still feels kind of fresh in our minds. And so I'd like to do a little bit of a post-mortem on this particular event. I don't want to bury the lead, so I'll start by saying it feels like the end of an era a little bit, actually, because the limited edition of the Six String Samurai finally sold out after what feels like 17 years. I mean, my youngest daughter wasn't even born yet when they released Six String Samurai in October of 2021. That's wild. She wasn't born until the end of April 22. I had no idea that thing been out so long. Six String Samurai limited edition made it damn near 4 years before selling out. It was like this grizzled survivor of so many Black Friday and halfway to Black Friday sales.
The day I set foot on that beach in Normandy, I never wished more that there was a God in heaven, and I was never more certain that they wasn't.
Damn, you are grizzled.
I mean, every one of you guys have had at least 7 or maybe 9 or maybe 13 opportunities to get Six String Samurai limited edition on sale for at least 50% off, maybe 60 or 70% off there towards the end. So not one of you guys has an excuse for paying some $65 scalper fee, but I feel like they could not give the damn thing away for the last couple of years. I saw it as low as, I think, $18 at one point. It's been out of print for, I don't know, roughly 48 hours. I'm already seeing eBay scalpers listing it for $65 and $75. So, like, that out of print markup is real, y'all. Like, no one could give a shit about this limited edition when it was in print, and Vinegar Syndrome was trying to get rid of it for $18. But the moment this thing goes out of print, people are like, oh no, it's out of print. I got to go rush to eBay and get it for $70. Don't let that be one of you, okay? If you missed Six String Samurai and you later look back on that with some regret, I need you to keep a stiff upper lip, suck it in, be a man about the whole thing, make a tough face, or steal it from somebody, shoplift it. There you go, break the law. For my part, I will go on record saying I like Six String Samurai as a movie. It's an odd little film. It had almost no chance of any kind of conventional success. Who knows what the financial backers were thinking when they decided to put money down to make this film? But it's just such a weird gem of a film, in my opinion, at least. It's a mashup of wildly disparate aesthetics of like Buddy Holly rockabilly meets Jackie Chan kung fu action meets the Road Warrior. And these three things really shouldn't work, and arguably they don't. I mean, it did take Vinegar Syndrome damn near 4 years to sell out this a limited edition at like 18 bucks. So, I mean, maybe it doesn't work. It works for me a little bit. It's weird. It's chocolate covered turkey balls. I mean, I could be that one weirdo that digs it. So I hope you got a copy of this movie for $18 like I did, son. But as far as the sale goes, the Alien Invasion sale goes, I will say it was a bit of a letdown, at least from the perspective of Alien Invasion being the theme. This sale came hot on the heels of halfway to Black Friday. You know, we just had that partner month in between, really kind of a cool down period for everybody. And then we have the sale the minute they open back up, basically. And I think by necessity, the halfway to Black Friday sale must be bigger and better of a sale than something like Alien Invasion or like last year's Rad sale. I mean, I think they can do these smaller sales build them around a theme, and have some fun with them for sure. I bought plenty of cool stuff on the rad sale that I didn't think I was going to get a crack at. Some of those out of print things that they mysteriously found cases of in the warehouse one day. But what I'm saying is that, the Black Friday sale, I mean, that's the big one. Halfway to Black Friday is almost as big, but not quite. It's like the little brother that's like a year younger. They're like Irish twins, but Black Friday is just like a little bit burlier and surlier. And halfway to Black Friday is like, yo, I'm right here in the mix too. And yeah, the rad sales and alien invasion sales, they can be kind of peppered through the year to kind of help get us through and also help Vinegar Syndrome to kind of move some of the older stock of items that maybe have been around for a year or two. I don't blame Vinegar Syndrome for wanting to kind of clear out some of this, liquidate some of this with their daily deals, and they're insane going out of print. And I bought a couple of things. I mean, speaking of the daily deals, they did make me a few offers that I couldn't refuse. But it was all the older stuff that was in that daily deals section, and so I'm here picking up stuff that they released last year that I'm interested in that I hadn't gotten around to yet because Cemetery of Terror is 12 bucks. Okay, add that to cart. $12 for a Blu-ray with a slipcover from Vinegar Syndrome. I think that's a no-brainer. Shanghai Triad I picked up. I was very excited to get Shanghai Triad. You guys don't sleep on Shanghai Triad. There's less than 1,000 copies left. It's a beautiful slipcover. It is a really cool movie from Hong Kong. Zhang Yimou is the director. Stars Gong Li. I think that's not one that you should sleep on. $16 for that with the slipcover. How do you say no to that? Anyway, it is probably for the best that I only bought a couple of things after the absolute prolapsing that I took on the halfway to Black Friday sale. I did get utterly bent over, used and abused by Vinegar Syndrome during that sale. But I did manage to get a copy of Iron Angels 1 through 3, limited edition, dog. Hit me up. I ain't selling it. I'm keeping that shit. So I'm very grateful to not feel any pressure to have to jump on some limited edition that's flying off the shelves. It's about to sell out and I got to grab it. That's the reason I got Iron Angels 1 through 3 when I did. I would have waited for a sale on Iron Angels as I did with My Father is a Hero and Love on Delivery and many of the other Hong Kong films that I've bought from Vinegar Syndrome off that VSA line. I'm grateful that I did not feel any of that same kind of pressure during this particular sale. But I will say, on the other hand, that Vinegar Syndrome really did oversell the whole alien thing. I was really expecting a lot more alien stuff. Let's review some of the new titles announced in reverse order from chronological. Most recent announcements to the oldest announcements. We got A New Leaf, which is a cinematograph release starring Walter Matthau. It's from the early 70s. I want to say 73, maybe mid 70s, 74. Five Dead on Crimson Canvas, the Nick Millard Action Collection, Fire Maidens of Outer Space, We're No Angels, Mac and Me, The Rage, Carrie II, The Card Player, Young Gary, Monster from the Deep, more like Young Gary, Monster from the Sleep. I ain't watching that shit. That shit look boring as hell. Satan's Bed plus Scare Their Pants Off. I just thought of that on the fly too. I'm sorry. I did not pre-write that joke. It was lame. I didn't pre-write that. Okay. They also came with some new slips for some older stuff, which I think are notable because one of them kind of sort of ties into the alien theme. The Extra Watch the Skies, Extra 3 Watch the Skies, of course, ties into the alien theme, but I'm not really going to count that because it's not a new release. It's a new slipcover for an old release that Vinegar Syndrome put out a while back. So, of all of these new releases, only Mac and Me and Fire Maidens from Outer Space have really anything to do with aliens. And that's being kind of generous with Fire Maidens. I mean, it's one of those alien movies where, like, we go to the planet, like human astronauts are sent to the planet, they meet the alien inhabitants thereof. It's not aliens coming to visit us like Roswell and the fucking flying saucers and stuff like that, zipping us up with the tractor beams and some shit, dissecting cows. I mean, it's not really what you expect when you say watch the skies. You're thinking UFO, you're thinking UAP, some kind of visitor from outer space coming to us to abduct us and perform scientific examinations on us. Fire Maidens, yeah, there's aliens involved, but it's us encroaching on their territory. So that's being a little generous. And if I'm feeling really generous and fairly intoxicated, the new slipcover for Extra 3 counts, but it's an old release. So again, I don't really think it counts. It only kind of counts sort of a little bit. So even looking at the daily deals, it's not like there was any alien shit in there either. I mean, Man Called Hero was on sale, Shanghai Triad, Mutant Hunt, Creature. That one, there's a little sci-fi action going on in Creature. You could tell me that ties into the alien, but that's really the only of the daily deals that I remember seeing had anything to do with alien anything. So there's not a whole lot of alien shit with this alien sale. I'm okay with a smaller sale. I'm all good with a variety of offerings. I mean, we got 80s cult classic in Mac and Me. We got a 1950s kind of pulpy sci-fi movie in black and white. We've got a movie from 2003 by Dario Argento. We got a movie from 1997 or 98 with Rage Carrie II, just kind of this random sequel. Anyway, it's a kind of a grab bag of things, which I'm okay with. I'm good with, but I was promised some alien shit. This sale was like 20% alien at best. And I feel like we were promised more alien shit. And people online, like my man's Chase from AV Pop Culture, he was getting excited for shit like Fire in the Sky. And quite frankly, I was too. I was talking to him and I was like, bro, like Fire in the Sky would be awesome. I haven't seen Fire in the Sky in a long ass time. And it fits perfectly with this whole alien invasion, whatnot. That would be a great VSA. Talk about a movie that I used to rent in the early to mid 90s. We might have been past the video rental heyday. I might have been getting it from Blockbuster or Hollywood Video at that point, 93, 94, somewhere in that neighborhood. But that would have been a perfect a VSA. It would have been a fine cinematograph release, maybe a little bit outside of the cinematograph territory, being kind of a great value brand Criterion collection. I'm sorry, Justin, for saying that. I apologize. Anyway, I hold cinematograph in higher esteem than that, but maybe Fire in the Sky doesn't quite fit the cinematograph mission, but I do believe that Fire in the Sky would have been great. I was very excited about that. Can you imagine a VSU of Stargate? Ooh, yeah. That works for me. So I'm giving Vinegar Syndrome a D plus on the alienness of this sale compared to the alienness promised to us in the marketing materials. I feel like they only get the plus because they did the extra slip. That's really the only reason they're getting that plus. As for the releases, I'll just run down kind of what I'm excited about and what I'm not super stoked about. My impression is that a lot of folks were kind of let down. The wind went out of our sails. If you went into this, if you went into this sale expecting Fire in the Sky and Stargate, or even hoping for Fire in the Sky and Stargate, you were pretty disappointed. Even if some of the stuff that they offered is going to be low key kind of cool releases. First, we got a new Leaf. It's a 4K upgrade of a Blu-ray that was released by Olive Films in 2019. And even that Olive Films release was a 4K scan. That Vinegar Syndrome is like they're using that same scan. They're bringing it up into the 4K format. They are adding some special features while retaining all of the special features that were on the Olive disc. So, on the one hand, I kind of appreciate that Vinegar Syndrome is making this movie available again. It had been out of print, and as you know, out of print films go for just stupid prices. I hate scalpers selling that shit for like $100 for, some single disc Blu-ray release simply because it's not in print anymore and it's hard to get. So, I like the idea that Vinegar Syndrome is bringing it back, that you're going to have an opportunity to buy it again at retail in a premium package on a 4K format. I'm sure it'll look good. On the other hand, you know, getting a re-release of A New Leaf feels kind of like mom saying we're having leftovers for dinner tonight. I mean, even if she dresses them up a little bit, it's still some shit we already had. So it's hard to get really super excited about A New Leaf. Although, if I find a good price, if I find somebody on like a Facebook group trying to get rid of it for 20 bucks, I'll probably snap it up. Now, Five Dead on the Crimson Canvas is one that I'm not even remotely familiar with. It looks like it's about par for the DeGosser course. It has the visual quality of one of the earlier releases, Iced, in that it looks like it came off an old VHS master that someone found at the bottom of a lake. It definitely looks pretty rough. So they really have to make up for the poor visual quality with some really bonkers and over the top entertainment value. I think something like Iced, no one's going to argue that it looks good. It looks like a old ass VHS that sat on the passenger seat of a hot car for a decade, the entirety of the 90s. It looks bad. And so does Five Dead on Crimson Canvas. It looks like utter trash. I mean, it may be that the entertainment value is high, like something like Iced. Maybe Iced, the sales, which, Ice sold pretty well. The limited edition of Ice sold out within the month it was released. Took maybe 2 weeks, but it sold out. And so maybe the sales of something like Iced influenced Vinegar Syndrome's decision to release Five Dead on the Crimson Canvas, because again, it has a similar look and feel. So it looks like trash, but it might be highly entertaining trash, and that's what I'm holding out hope for. It looks like it was made on the most shoestring of shoestring budgets. The acting looks god awful. I watched the trailer and just thought, "Oh, Jesus, it's so bad." The film seems lurid and grotesque, and all of that actually kind of piques my interest. This feels like the type of thing that you would get from Vinegar Syndrome, particularly DeGosser. And if you could get this for 20 bucks on sale, I don't know, that might be a good $20. I will say that in short, Five Dead on the Crimson Canvas makes Dance or Die look like Avatar. And that might actually be praised now that I'm thinking about it. Now, I have seen some palpable excitement for the Nick Millard Action Collection online. Some folks actually seem really stoked for this one. This is another set of films that I'm entirely unfamiliar with, so it's very difficult for me to get excited about them. But it's also like the first time in 47 years that VSA has released something that's not a Hong Kong action flick. So I think we kind of have to buy it just to send Vinegar Syndrome the message, right? 6 of the past 10 VSA releases have been Hong Kong cinema for a rate of 60%. That's 60% Hong Kong cinema in the past 10 releases or so, slightly analogous to almost a year. 11 of the past 20 VSA releases have been Hong Kong cinema. So again, of the last 20 releases, that's a 55% rate that is Hong Kong cinema. So you think about those percentages, and I do not think that if you took a time machine back to 1989 and you went into a video store, whether it be a mom and pop video store or a chain like Blockbuster, which certainly had emerged by the late 80s, I do not think that you would find a single video rental store in the entirety of the United States, outside of maybe a Chinatown, that had more than 50% of the movies as Hong Kong cinema films. At most, I think maybe back then, about 5% of the movies in the video rental store would have been Hong Kong cinema. There might have been a couple of John Woo that were available on VHS circa 1990-ish. The Killer, Hard Boiled. Hard Boiled might even be like 91 or 92. So that one may not have been available during that peak video rental era. So really, you're talking about slim pickings. Jackie Chan wasn't huge back then, so you really didn't have a big demand in the United States for Hong Kong cinema films. You didn't have people licensing them because Jackie Chan was not a name that was known here in the United States until Rumble in the Bronx. Jet Li, He wasn't a name that was known here in the United States until the later 90s. I think Romeo Must Die was his big first American action film that did pretty well, thanks to DMX and Aaliyah. RIP to both of those folks. So I'm gonna say I love Hong Kong cinema. I love Hong Kong cinema. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Shout will be getting plenty of my money with their Hong Kong Cinema Classics line. I just think that, I want more Hong Kong cinema from everybody, Vinegar Syndrome included, not less. I'm not saying I want less, but I think that, as people like Chase from Maybe Pop Culture have said, I agree. I think Vinegar Syndrome needs a separate line. They need to create a space for the Hong Kong cinema releases, so that people who are fans of Vice Academy and, Savage Dawn and some of that stuff, Necromancer and some of those earlier VSA releases, can have what they want with the VSA line, and Hong Kong cinema fans like myself can have what we want from something like a VSHK or something like that. I'll do a longer video on this particular topic sometime, because I think I have more thoughts to add, but also I don't want to stretch this video out with something tangential. But anyway, they need to do their own Hong Kong cinema line. And I know it'll be like copying Shout at this point, but it makes sense if you're going to have a lot of Hong Kong films. Make a spot for them, carve out a nice space for them to exist, and there you go. Now, Fire Maidens from Outer Space, this is another film that I haven't the foggiest on. I dig the 50s era sci-fi stuff. I like that they're putting this out. It feels like a good example of the type of pulp sci-fi stuff that walked, so that shit like Aliens could run. It really does seem like the type of thing that put sci-fi into the public zeitgeist, so that we could have sci-fi films, including, aliens and visits to outer space and stuff like that. Maybe even more heady stuff like Prometheus. It really does feel like this is part of a lineage of films here, and I think this is well placed in the Vinegar Syndrome Labs line as well. I think that's the perfect place for something that's maybe a little different than what Vinegar Syndrome normally offers. I'm just not super excited about this one, because it's not really my lane. I'm not a big 1950s guy. Sci-fi I like, but I'm a little bit more hit or miss on. So we'll see about this one, but I'm not super excited about it. We're No Angels is actually one that I am pretty excited about. I would say I'm moderately excited about. This film has been stuck on DVD for years. I think there's been a couple of DVD releases over the years, but that was many, many years ago, and it may be difficult to obtain. And this might be one of those DVDs that sold for like 50, 60, 70 bucks, simply because there wasn't much of an alternative, and it's not really in print anymore as a DVD. Now, it's an 80s comedy starring Robert De Niro and Sean Penn, so these are all strong selling points for me, but it's also directed by Neil Jordan, who's made a ton of shit that you know of. I promise you. Company of Wolves, which Scream put out on 4K pretty recently. He also did The Crying Game, which is a somewhat notorious film. He did Mona Lisa, which is a Criterion release, and recently he did that film Marlowe with Liam Neeson, which I haven't seen yet, but looks kind of interesting. My only gripe here with We're No Angels is that it's a fairly important movie. I think it's a kind of a big get for cinematograph, being that it is a Robert De Niro and Sean Penn starring film directed by Neil Jordan, who has quite a filmography. No 4K. It's just a Blu-ray. So I'm far more likely to buy We're No Angels over a New Leaf, for instance, but a New Leaf is getting a 4K. And I think We're No Angels is worth the 4K. The reason why a New Leaf is getting it is because they've already been released on Blu-ray before. And so there's a little bit of pressure on Vinegar Syndrome to step it up to a new, a more a higher resolution format, in order to make it feel like an upgrade for people who already own the Olive Films Blu-ray. Now, nobody owns a Blu-ray of We're No Angels because it never existed. So maybe Vinegar Syndrome didn't feel the same pressure to put this one on 4K. That's at least how it seems to me, an outsider who knows nothing about the inner workings of Vinegar Syndrome. I do think We're No Angels is worthy of a 4K release, and I'm sad it's not getting one. I will wait until this one hits a 50% off sale before buying it as a result. I don't think it's going to fly off the shelves again. I think this would be a more exciting release if it was in a 4K format, but what do I know? I'm not selling DVDs. The Rage Carrie II is also one I never saw, which is weird because it was released in the late 90s. I was in high school. This feels like something I would have gone to see, but yeah, didn't know it existed. I'm not even sure it got like a super wide theatrical release. I didn't look into it. I do not remember this one hitting theaters ever at any time, like being out in the public zeitgeist. And I don't remember any friends talking about it, getting hyped about it, nothing. I'll buy it on a sale because it does look kind of fascinating. It is from that era of films that, I do like to collect films of the 90s because they do kind of bring me back to that period of my life. I am 99% sure there's no aliens in Carrie 2, though. So, again, you're losing the alien shit right here, Vinegar Syndrome. The Card Player is actually the one that I think is the dark horse of the month. It's a Dario Argento film, who's a director I always associate with the 70s and 80s. I always think of like Deep Red. I always think of opera, phenomena. So I think of his work from the 70s and 80s whenever I hear his name. But here is a film he made in 2003. It seems like a sort of time capsule to that era's technology too, which kind of excites me. It's like a time when it was novel to murder someone over a webcam. It's like, remember what webcams looked like in 2003? They don't look great today, as evidenced by my video quality right the fuck now in 2025 using a 4K webcam. I got a potato webcam, but they were really potato back in 2003. I was like 2 pixels of resolution back then. But it's one of those things where it's like, oh, we got this thing called the internet now, and now killers can murder people while the cops watch. It's crazy. Playing online poker to see if a victim lives or dies. It feels, I don't know, it feels quaint, but it feels kind of corny also. So I'm really hoping for that kind of nostalgia from this one. So I'm actually low key excited, quite excited for this one. I think I'm more excited for the Card Player than anything else they announced this past weekend. And I still plan on waiting for a sale because, like, I'm a frugal mofo. I like saving money. If I save 20 bucks, then I can buy another movie. That's the kind of shopper I am. But I am kind of looking forward to checking out the Card Player in the semi near future. Youngary, on the hand, is a movie that I just cannot give a fudge about. It's just not my thing. It looks like a Godzilla knockoff, and it's just not my thing. It's just, if it's for you, then congratulations, and I hope you enjoy. Satan's Bed and Scare Their Pants Off is another no can do for me. And it's not the dirty stuff either. I like the dirty stuff, unlike Ken. I appreciate all the dirty stuff. Make these movies as smutty and dirty and filthy as you want, and I'll keep buying them. But while I appreciate the boobies, Yoko Ono scared me off. I don't know if I can do that. These ones just don't really do much for me. I looked at the pictures, I didn't feel it move. So, you know, moving on. That leaves Just Mac and Me, and this is one that I will be buying, again, likely in a sale because, who doesn't like saving money? And also, I didn't really grow up with this one. I understand a lot of people do have a good deal of nostalgia for this one, but this is one that I think I may have seen it once as a kid in part. I think I caught like part of it as a kid, but it's not one that I grew up watching frequently. I didn't have a VHS copy of this one, in 1989 or 1990 that I wore out like I did with Big Trouble in Little China. So it wasn't until I became an adult that I watched Mac and Me and became familiar with it. And so I don't have the same fondness for it. So I don't feel that swelling of excitement like, yay, Vinegar Syndrome did something just for me. However, this is a true cult classic, in my opinion. I think Mac and Me is like a textbook cult classic. and it's pretty well within my lane, being an oddity of the 80s. And so I think that that means that I'm gonna have to pick it up, on top of the fact that a VSU is a line that I try to keep up with, owing to their relatively infrequent, 3 or 4 a year. I think is fairly easy to keep up with, and so, I do try to keep up with the VSUs. So I will cop Mac and Me at some point, again, trying to save some money. So, uh, upon review of the new releases that Vinegar Syndrome just announced, there are some that I certainly will pick up at some point, but nothing that I feel demands an immediate purchase, like Iron Angels trilogy. Also, I've said it before, I will end by simply reiterating my thesis statement: not enough alien shit. I wanted some, like, get in, loser, we're doing butt stuff level alien shit, but instead I got, let's shoot a 10-year-old in a wheelchair and or blow him up in a massive explosion type alien shit, which actually also sounds kind of cool, but maybe not as fun as butt stuff, as we all know. So, thank you to Vinegar Syndrome for saving me some money. Thanks to you nerds for clicking this video. I love you very much. And thanks to this beer for getting warm while I recorded this shit. So I'm gonna go finish this warm shit, and I bid you all adieu, and I'll see you on the next one. I love you.